How do you define Pandora today?
Well, it's personalized radio. That's what we do. And it's delivered to people anywhere they are, at home, office, car, you name it.
And any plans? You have so much competition out there right now. Spotify, Groove Shark, though it's illegal. People still use it. I mean, I don't know if it's going to be the next, Napster? But you have all this increasing competition. Any plans to evolve that in order to make sure to maintain your market share?
Well, I think the first thing to understand is there really are two different forms of listening.
Right, one's more on demand and one's discovery.
Right, and it's actually, I think, poorly understood that when people consume music, even today, with all the great ways to consume your collection, your MP3 collection, your CD, etc., subscription services, that 80% of the time people spend with music is still radio, simple radio. And that really is Pandora's focus. There are a lot of really interesting innovations going on the on-demand side, iTunes being one of the first, but there are many that have followed. We view that as largely complementary to Pandora. I mean, we've existed alongside.
But it's stealing users.
I'm sorry?
It's stealing users.
That's not been our experience. People actually use them very much one in conjunction with the other. Because on Pandora, if you hear a song you like, you can't rewind and listen to it again. You can do that somewhere else. And people sort of bop back and forth.
Really? So they're not switching from Pandora to
Exactly.
Spotify.
Use them together. Right.
Really?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely.
I know people that said that they have switched from Pandora to Spotify.
And that could happen, but I think by and large, the lion's share of listening is really on radio. And every now and then you go into this sort of on-demand, lean-in mode. And those really, I think, work side by side.
And a lot of those, though, are planning to transition and move into the discovery, onto Pandora's territory or into Pandora's territory. What do you do then?
Well, we've never lacked for competition. We're no stranger to it.
Right, and now you have Clear Channel jumping into the mix with its iHeartRadio, which at one point we thought, Pandora could have been the radio killer. But it doesn't seem to have been the case. And in fact, it's looking to make a resurgence, with iHeartRadio. And I would think that could hurt Pandora because it's almost, in a sense, the same concept.
Well, it's competition, absolutely. But really, we do see that as a signal. The nation's largest broadcaster clearly recognizing that this is the future of the medium.
It's a powerhouse.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think they're recognizing this space, which is growing very fast and is attracting listeners and attracting advertisers in droves.
Is it something that's on Pandora's radar to potentially look at some of these other companies like Spotify and say, maybe that's an acquisition target at some point?
Well, I think smart companies constantly watch what's happening in their adjacent spaces, for sure. I mean, you have to decide when has something come along that would be additive to your business, whether it's something you want to build yourself, something you want to acquire, you name it.
So that's a yes.
You'd be unwise. You'd be unwise not to keep a careful eye out on that. And we've been doing that for years since we started, and that's not going to change.
You have 900,000 songs, correct? Versus some of the other ones that have grander collections, 14 million plus. And some of the criticism that I've heard from users is that their music isn't represented well in Pandora, and they've been forced to go elsewhere.
Well, we have a different approach to the collection probably than some. The Music Genome Project, which is our the sort of system underlying Pandora, is a curated collection. So we really are trying to find the best stuff that we can find across genres. And the idea is that collection the right size so that no matter what doorway you come in on, what song or artist or genre or style you enter, can Pandora provide you kind of just the right listening experience? And like I said, it's a combination of stuff you know and some stuff you don't know. And we're kind of hard at work on that all the time and have found to date that where we are right now on catalog size and the rate of growth seems to really match listenership.
Can you give us an idea of your growth rate?
To date, we're on a good, healthy track.
Richard Greenfield, BTIG, he says his firm is continuing to short Pandora, so he's not as confident that the growth rate is going to continue. He says to buy Pandora at today's valuation requires confidence in earnings several years out, unquote. And so obviously, he's a little bit concerned about the competition and where you're going.
Well, our focus is not on what happens this week, this month. It really is over the coming years, and we're very confident we're building a really healthy business in an absolutely enormous category. I mean, I think it's quite remarkable. The average American listens to something like 17 hours of music a week, and 80% of that is radio. It's this huge, huge category, and we feel really good about where we are. We're sort of right where we want to be.
One of the toughest things I think for companies today, especially in technology and the internet, is that the internet boom has created, the initial internet boom created a society of the bigger, better deal. So everyone's searching for that bigger, better deal all the time. And so no company seems to be truly secure. And so it may not matter what Pandora does. Does that concern you at all? That you could still be destined for failure just because of this new society that's developed?
I think it's a really good observation, and I would actually say the lessons from all of that are that as a company you need to really stay focused on what you're good at, kind of stick to your knitting. Don't get distracted by what's happening around you. Recognize what's the service you're providing, what is it that will cause consumers to be loyal to what you're doing, and just stay fiercely focused on that. Make sure you're delivering something of value. Obviously, you have to innovate, but don't get distracted by that. Keep your head down, and if you do that well over time, if you treat your listeners well, your product will continue to grow. And ultimately, it's a very, very meritocratic environment that we're in now.